Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Bigot. I feign social outrage so you don't have to.
Let's talk about whitewashing.
Why? Like, do you have something actually good to say, or are you just gonna start saying things without any evidence to support what you're saying? Only way to find out is to move forwards. Let's discover what our Nostalgia Bigot has in store for us with the subject of whitewashing.
Stop! Obviously, this is a subject everybody has a strong opinion on, especially given the news recently.
You don't have a strong opinion on this. You pretend to be soft-spoken, you pretend to not take a side. You don't have a strong opinion, you're a liar.
Two big movies have just done previews, a trailer from Marvel's Doctor Strange and a still from Paramount's remake of Ghost in the Shell. The internet flipped, as both films were accused of whitewashing.
Yeah, people with too much time on their hands generally find nonsense to complain about no matter what it is. So I don't see why anyone should care about this one. It's a Hollywood-produced movie. What do you think they're gonna do? They're gonna look at dumb market research to try to make as much money as possible. You think they care about making an authentic, genuine movie? No. They're there to make a profit. All they care about is the money.
The internet flipped, as both films were accused of whitewashing. Which, for those who don't know, is when a person who's supposed to be of a certain ethnicity is suddenly played by a white person.
In the context that you're using supposed to be, what you really mean, what the character originally is. Peter Pan, for instance, is a little white kid from England. If you wanted to make a different Peter Pan, you easily could. You could make it a black girl from America. There you go, that's the opposite. So, why is it supposed to be? Why can't people make whatever stories they want to?
In Ghost in the Shell's case, people were upset because Scarlett Johansson was playing what was originally an Asian character.
Even though Major Makota is technically an Asian character, anime, they draw people looking so white, it's preposterous. Like, they look more white than Asian in most instances. And if you know anything about Japan, they actually sell glue for your eyes so that you can try to look more American. That's how obsessed they are with American aesthetics. So, you know, no one calls them racist, but second you go like this, or the second you go like this, and start saying ching chong ping pong, people are like, oh man, you're such a racist. Even though you're clearly just making an ethnic joke that's like 100% ignorant. Obviously these people aren't saying ching chong ping pong or whatever gibberish you would try to make to emulate those sounds. So I don't, if you're offended by that, this is ridiculous. Grow up.
And in Doctor Strange's case, a Tibetan man is now being portrayed as a Celtic woman, played by Tilda Swinton. This is a touchy subject that's making a lot of people feel enraged. Whitewashing is an art that, let's face it, white people have mastered bullshitting for years.
If they're actually doing a good job at portraying people of races that they aren't, whether it be just voice acting or on-screen acting, then how is that bullshitting? How is that not just doing a good job? If you don't know that the person is, you know, not what they're portraying on screen, then that's doing a good job. So, you know, when James Earl Jones does the voice of Darth Vader, who's acted as a white dude, when you finally see him take the mask off, I just don't see how it's an art that white people have mastered. And I especially don't see how it's bullshitting. I think that you're just pandering, dude. I think that you're pandering to these liberals and to these overly sensitive people that want to victimize white people constantly, as if, you know, we're all just so super racist, and anything you do ever trying to mimic even anything else that's not yourself, oh, then you're just being racist. Get out of here with that nonsense, dude.
Which is all the more reason to get upset. People can't believe that it's still going on.
70% of the country is white. So why would anyone be surprised when white people are still acting as other, you know, races or whatever? How was that a surprise? Also, you know, there's the Wayans brothers. They made the movie White Chicks where they played white women even though they're black men. So how is this something that white people are doing? You're leaving out other examples, dude. Why are you selectively leaving out other examples? Is this to possibly support your false narrative? I think it is. I think that you're the one that's bullshitting.
Is America, home to so many different cultures and races, still resorting to the same offensive tricks? Have things really gotten better, or have we just disguised our hypocrisy even more?
If you look at movies that you include later in this review, like, I guess, Cloud Atlas, you could say things have gotten better. If you look at the new Karate Kid movie with Jaden Smith, and it takes place with them in China, you can say things have gotten better. There are a lot of examples you can use. There's also this movie, Ping Pong Playa. You can say, that's making things better too. So, have things gotten worse? Maybe in some ways, on certain fronts, like the Michael Bay front. Michael Bay just keeps on making garbage, keeps on making bad movies with horrible jokes. So, and there was the racist robots, I guess, or the stereotypical robots, because really those were just certain stereotypes. So, you can say things are getting better, you can say things are getting worse, you can say either way. I mean, you can say also they're movies. What does it matter? Anyone can make any movie about anything that they want to, so I don't think that things are necessarily getting worse. But you could look at a movie like Django and say that things are getting worse because now we have a black revenge porn movie on the main big screens. So I'm not going to take a stance explicitly. I think that things are getting worse in some ways. I think in some ways things are getting better. But it's still kind of a wash, it's still kind of a mess. The less people watch these movies that are terrible for them, and the less they watch television, and the more they read, the better off they'll be. So really, people just need to stop paying attention to all these bad garbage movies. That's the main problem here.
I guess in hindsight, if Japan did their version of, say, Superman and they cast a Japanese actor in the role, Americans probably wouldn't care. I think most people are assuming too that because the film is made by Americans, it probably wouldn't take place in Japan. The same way The Ring or The Grudge were Asian properties, but clearly weren't filmed in Asia and didn't star Asian people. Or the same way they remade Seven Samurai in the Old West, the first time. In fact, there's tons of remakes of foreign films that have done this, as well as replaced the actors with white Americans, but have never gotten criticized. Even to this day.
Yeah, they've never gotten criticized because of their hypocrisy, because of their anti-white racism. These people are anti-white racists. That's why it doesn't get criticized. And there's another gatekeeping group of people that happen to run certain portions of the media. So there's another reason, too, why these films that do the same essential thing don't also get criticized. Because the criticism is support of anti-white racism. That's why it's being put out, because they want people to be feeling guilty for being white. I don't feel guilty for how I was born. It's preposterous.
So, why is this one getting so beaten up? Well, there could be a couple reasons. One could be the character struck such a chord with anime fans that the identity was so tied to her Japanese heritage. Or, most likely too, America has so many Asian American actors, some of which are even featured in the film, that it seems pointlessly silly not to cast one in the leading role. They are still, after all, Americans.
They might be Americans, but apparently for some reason, whatever it is, based on the market research, they don't appeal to enough of the demographic for the studio to be interested in casting them in that role. All they care about is the money. So if everyone right now loves Scarlett Johansson, doesn't matter. They're gonna cast stupid Scarlett Johansson because everyone wants to get their jimmies off the freaking redhead stupid woman. So hey, they're just giving people what they want, dude. Isn't that what you do with the movie? You give people something that they want to see. So when you do research and determine that a majority of people want to see this thing because all you care about is making the money, then you go with what the research tells you to do. Shouldn't you know this by now? Don't you study film for, your job? What is this pandering? What is this pandering? Why are you trying to pander to everybody and seem like, oh, I'm just such a sensitive, so informed, socially correct guy? Aren't I great? No, you're a bigot.
I also keep hearing that there's no Asian American actors big enough to guarantee a good box office. Well, first of all, there's tons of Asian American actors.
You have to make what people want, and if people in America want a bunch of dumb action films with white dudes, that's what you're gonna get.
And many of them are very successful. But I know what they mean when they say none of them are as big as Scarlett Johansson.
It's funny how you use air quotes because Scarlett Johansson is a more recognized actor. Everyone knows her name. She's in all the big movies now, She's in the stinking Marvel, Captain America, I don't even care anymore. I don't even care. The Avengers. So yeah, if they want to make a movie that everyone's going to go flock to see, they're going to use a girl that everyone wants to flock to see that they're already flocking to see. Can't you see?
Sure, star power is important, but guess what? Some of the highest grossing movies and franchises...
All these examples are so easy to explain. It's Captain America. Captain America hasn't been traditionally portrayed by anything but some, white American guy. So they can pretty much cast any dude that can get in shape. And for this guy, doesn't he have blonde hair and blue eyes? Isn't he like the perfect Aryan soldier? Jeez. Is this a white nationalist film? Oh man, guys, racial undertones. Everybody freak out! Everybody freak out! But seriously, all these examples are so ridiculous. Next example.
Don't have huge names as the main characters.
Star Wars 7, the next movie in the franchise. Of course, it doesn't matter who's going to play the new lead characters. Everyone's going to go to see it. It's the 7th movie in the series. It's new Star Wars. Don't you get how people work, dude? Oh my gosh. These examples are horrible. Next.
Who heard of Daniel Radcliffe before Harry Potter?
Nobody, but apparently he was like the best actor that auditioned for the part because everyone wanted to see Harry Potter, a kid that was only described by his characteristics in a book. So luckily that kid looked close enough and fit the bill, and he was a good enough actor. It's one of those things where the universe just so happened to work out in his favor for some reason. So, a bad example once again. Next.
Who heard of Christopher Reeve before Superman?
Who cares? He looks enough like Superman, and everyone was like, hey, they're making a Superman movie. Are you gonna go see Superman? Yeah, I'm seeing Superman. It's Superman, dude. You gotta see Superman in the theaters. What else are we gonna do? There's nothing else to see. It's Superman. So, bad examples. Next.
Most of the names in Avatar aren't that huge.
Oh, Avatar. You mean the James Cameron movie? You mean the James Cameron, everyone talking about it, James Cameron movie? He's spending millions, billions on CG, James Cameron? Yeah. Oh, geez. Wonder why it doesn't matter who the actors are and why everyone's going to go see it. Because it's the new James Cameron CG ripping off Dances Off of Wolves with aliens in space movie. Of course everyone's going to go see it. Wow. It's like, your examples are just so bad. Next.
Harrison who? Star what? Bomb.
The ultimate example, a movie that bombed. Oh boy, wonder why they try to rely on already well-established names now when they make big movies that they want to make a lot of money off of. Gee, maybe they don't want the movies to bomb because no one wants to see it, because no one's sure whether it's going to be good or not, because there's nothing good attached to it that, they can recognize. So, hey dude, learn to use better examples, because all these examples were garbage.
But what about Doctor Strange's case? Is there really a bias against Tibetan actors?
This is a setup. Oh, is there really a bias? And then he answers it.
Well, yes, but not in the way that you think. You see, 18% of Marvel's motion picture income stems from China. And guess who China is not exactly the biggest fan of? Correct.
Yeah, actually there is, from Chinese people. Oh, geez, hey, look at that. Chinese people have biases and prejudice against other people. Oh, man, it's like they're racist. Oh, man. Oh, let's not dwell on the subject, though, because then that would actually have to bring up an intelligent conversation about race relations across this planet and, between people groups. But, no, let's just keep on pandering. I'm the pander critic. I pander so you don't have to.
So the choice was made to change the character so much from a male Tibetan to a Celtic female that hopefully it would be so different that nobody would notice. You have totally underestimated your geeky fan base.
Well, of course, morons on the internet are going to get way too upset about nonsense.
We get upset when a good-looking white man plays a good-looking white man.
Yeah, stop using we. I don't get mad when I see a handsome white guy playing a handsome white guy because I'm not an anti-white racist, unlike all you liberals are trained to be. So, maybe you should work out your own problem with why you're so racist against yourself.
On the one hand, it's good to know that the American filmmakers don't have any real anti-Tibetan agenda. I mean, they're a business and they want to make as much money as they can, but on the other hand, it's still ethically wrong.
It's not ethically wrong, and the fact that you can't even explain how it's ethically wrong is just hilarious. If it were ethically wrong, then you would be able to prove so, but since it's not, I just find it hilarious that you can't even explain it. But to explain how it's not ethically wrong, ethics are the discussion of whether or not something is right or wrong. Going over sets of principles and morals. So when a person is making a movie to make money, it's not wrong to not offend the people that you're making the film for, regardless of why they're going to be offended and why you're making that choice to not offend them. Because your choice to not offend them is just protecting your bottom line, which is why you're making the movie in the first place. So I don't see it as being ethically wrong to change a person's ethnicity in a movie because a part of the audience that's kind of big that's going to see it isn't going to like that, and they're not going to pay to see the movie then.
They're putting a prejudice ahead of not making more money.
Yeah, dude, their point is to make money. They have no moral obligation. They have no obligation on any basis whatsoever to respect the original story. Anyone can make any story they want to. Anyone can make any movie they want to. Because of copyrights and trademarks, there are actually restrictions on that. So if I were to make my own Superman movie, I would get the pantsuit off of me. If I was wearing pants right now. But you can, in reality, make whatever story you want to. So it's not unethical to allow yourself to... It's not unethical to make a decision based on someone else's prejudices. If your whole audience is racist against blacks, then are you going to feature a black person as the main character? Obviously not, because they're not going to see it. If your whole audience is racist against whites, are you going to cast a white dude as the main character? Probably not, because then they're probably not going to see it. So if your whole audience has a problem with something in the movie, how is it unethical to change that thing in the movie? Because your objective is to make money. It's not your concern, and it's not your ability even. It's up to a person to change, so I can try to help change them. If you're not able to directly engage with them, and they have to pay money in order to get access to what you want them to be changed by, it's probably not going to work. They're probably just going to, not see the movie. So there are more clever ways to try to change people's perceptions, but you're not fostering or encouraging people's prejudices by restricting yourself from utilizing those things that would cause offense based on their prejudices. So you could say that it's a fine, rope to walk, but I think it's pretty simple. If you want to change people's minds, you'll give them something that they can latch onto. So if you really want to change them, you're generally not going to be charging them for that service. I'm not charging you guys for these videos. If people want to donate to my Patreon, that'd be awesome, but no one's required to, no one has any obligation to. And this on YouTube is all paid for, through advertisements and whatever, so you don't have to pay for it, right? All you have to pay for, in reality, if you're an independent person, is your access to the internet, your computer and stuff like that, blah blah. But that's getting a little off subject. So it's not unethical. This whole argument that he's trying to make is stupid. These people have a racist prejudice, and their objective in making this movie is to make money. They're going to change something about the story then, so that racial prejudice doesn't, or that racial prejudice doesn't inhibit their ability to make more money. That's just how it goes. You can think it's unethical, but it's not unethical because they're making a movie to make money. It's like there basically are no ethics at that point.
But let's be honest, this happens a lot in business. Like, all the time. And let's also be honest, we've let very similar choices slide recently. Oh, what? You mean blackface or that slanty eye makeup that never fooled anyone? Come on, that's not us, that's the generation before us. That stuff is, but you've been okay with a lot more than you think. In fact, we've grown up with it mostly in cartoons.
Oh wow, here comes the guilt and the shaming, because we've watched films that have presented stereotypes, and generalities about certain parts of the world that are actually based in truths. The whole Hammurabi's Code thing, that does come from the Middle East, so when you look at Islam, they actually still do cut off hands for stealing. So in Aladdin, when they're in Alibaba or whatever the crap they're at, when the guards say, we're going to cut off your hand for stealing that food, that's not racist. That's not really even stereotypical. That's true to what still happens in those regions in the world today. So, hey, idiot critic, you're not gonna shame me or guilt me because I watched those movies and I didn't question it. If it was worth questioning, it would have been questioned, and we would have discovered, hey, that's not actually right. But guess what? That actually is how it is over there. So your pandering is nonsense, and it's actually detrimental to the truth. If anything, you are the one who's hurting people more than people who are watching some of these films, because some of these films actually are portraying accurate depictions of reality.
Apu and Dr. Hibbert? White guy. Aladdin and Jasmine? White people.
Why does that matter, dude? You're racist against white people. Seriously, you're just racist against white people. Why do you have a problem with this?
Hey, you remember all those animes starring Japanese people? Practically all of them are redubbed by white Americans.
Oh no. 70% of the population wants to hear voices that sound like their voices. That's just so racist, guys. Wanting familiarity is just so racist.
In fact, there was even a Cowboy Bebop movie in the works for a while that was going to star Keanu Reeves, and people were actually excited about it.
Dude, stop being a fake pretender. But people were actually excited about it. People were actually excited about it. Of course they were excited about it. It's Keanu Reeves, the guy from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, the guy from The Matrix, the guy that does, whoa, you know, the guy that does all those ridiculous things, and he's like a hilarious actor to watch, and he's actually a good actor too, so, dude, are you just racist against white people? What is wrong with you?
Well, wait a minute. How come this gets a pass but Scarlett Johansson doesn't? But it doesn't stop there. Belle's not French, Tina's not a girl, Tommy's not a boy, Neil Patrick Harris isn't straight, Robin Williams isn't gay, and speaking of comedies, I don't think the cast of Life of Brian are actually Israeli. In fact, Britain and a lot of other countries have posed as us a lot. Some of our most famous American roles are played by actors who are not American.
Yeah, look at what you're saying now. British people have played Americans. People who are gay have played straight people. People who are straight have played gay people. And apparently all of them pulled it off successfully. So it looks to me that the common theme here is that there are good actors, and that the good actors will get the lead parts because they're good actors. You racist bigot.
And it even works the other way around. Performers like Alfred Molina or Rama Mafia, they've played almost every ethnicity there is because they look like almost every ethnicity there is. In fact, something that's getting a lot of praise is when a role that's meant for a white actor is suddenly being played by a person of color.
See, there you go with your racism again. A role that was meant for a white actor? Why was the role meant for a white actor? Just because a role was traditionally portrayed by a white character doesn't mean that it always has to be that way. People can be offended if you change it, but doesn't matter because it's a new, different story, so you can still make the original one if you want to. Why is there any issue here? I think you people just want to be mad about nothing.
And I know what you might be saying. How is a person of color playing a white person's role any different from a white person playing a person of color's role? Stop! I'm not going where you think I'm going. The answer is obvious, because of the whitewashing we've had in the past. America clearly hasn't had the best record in terms of treating people equally, and it's obvious there has been years of keeping women, foreigners, and anybody of color as somehow lower than white men in both society and our media. Because of this, we're more open to allowing the gender or race of what was a white male change to reflect the growing environment.
And look who the people who made all those movies were. Old white dudes, a lot of them Jews. So maybe there were some old white dudes, some of them Jews, that were just, racist. And they put some racist stuff in their cartoons and their movies. Okay. How does that relate to now? How does a racist Popeye cartoon relate to today? And I'm not talking all Popeye, because not all Popeye is racist, but there are definitely moments in some episodes that are incredibly racist, like when the Mexican in Mexico sticks his face out the window and has his big smile, and for no reason Popeye just punches all his teeth in. That seems pretty racist to me, but why don't you bring up that example? But I think I know why, because how does it relate to today? That kind of thing isn't going on anymore, so, like, all of your examples are, old when you're talking about this, except for your use of Django here, which is, anti-white propaganda. It's a black murder porn thing, so... Dude, you didn't even know where to take a stand on this issue. You don't know what to say about this issue. Your opinion is just awful.
But even taking race out of it, there's tons of similar whitewashing going on that we've just allowed. I was actually shocked when they did Lord of the Rings and they didn't hire little people for the job.
Little people make up 0.05% of the population. You're surprised because you're an idiot.
Now, don't get me wrong, the actors were all great, I had no problem with their performances, but the only time little people were used is when you saw the back of their heads.
Because when they're portraying those actors at those proportions with normal, excuse my use of the word normal, sized humans, that's what they had to do. So that's why they cast those little people to represent the main characters, but just from behind, because that's what was required for the shot.
Why are we okay with that?
Because that's what they needed to do for the shot, and they still got paid. Would you have rather them not been hired at all and made no money? Are you bigoted against little people? Because it looks to me that they still got hired and they actually got to be in the Lord of the Rings. So where's the problem here? Oh, but we only saw the back of their heads. Yeah, some people only get to walk by in the background in a hallway and don't even see their face. But they were in the movie and they made money, so what's the problem? That's what they were paid to do. And they voluntarily accepted that position. So how is anyone being wronged?
They can play supporting munchkins or elves, but starring roles was asking too much?
I don't think 0.05% of the population has anywhere near the same ratio of good actors that the other 99.95% of the population does. So when I don't see a full leading cast of little people, it kind of makes sense to me. Also considering the fact that the hobbits aren't little people, they're hobbits. They're a different fantasy character. Little people have different body proportions according to whichever actual type of dwarfism or whatever their specific condition is. So they're not hobbits. That's why when they cast the main actors, they use people like Elijah Wood who are kind of short, so that way in context of normal sized people, they look shorter, and they can use perspective camera tricks then to make them look even shorter like hobbits do. But hobbits, they're not little people, they're just like regular sized people, but smaller, like the same proportions as a regular sized person. So there was nothing bigoted about their choice to cast short people, and not even average height is like 5'7" to 6 foot or something. I don't know. So Elijah Wood's kind of on the shorter side actually. Is that so hateful of me to call him short? Oh geez, I'm tall. Like they're just words. They're just descriptors. They're comparatives a lot of the times. What is tall? Compared to a 8-foot person, I'm not tall. They're tall. So it makes sense that the whole lead cast isn't little people. 0.05% of the population.
There's plenty of actors who are little people, and it's not like these were gigantic names. I mean, nobody's gonna see Lord of the Rings because it starred Elijah Wood. They're gonna see it because it's Lord of the Rings. This is still a very similar form of whitewashing. Heightwashing? Copyright. You probably don't think this is a big deal, but if we kept to this exact way of doing things, we wouldn't have the 31 flavors of kick-ass that is Peter Dinklage. This guy is so popular now that they're writing him in roles that weren't even meant for a little person.
There you go again with your bigotry. Roles that weren't meant for a little person? What do you think little people were meant for? Can you tell me that? Are they only allowed to do certain things? That sounds pretty bigoted to me, dude. I think you're the bigot here with your whole, oh, well, this role wasn't meant for a little person. Why not? Because you said so? Because you're the bigot? What's up, dude?
As much as those prejudices seem really worthy of anger, it's hard to tell where to draw the line. More transgender roles are opening up. Not all of them played by real transgenders, though many say they should be.
Why can't the person who performed the best get the job? If a person who's non-transsexual was a better actor than the actual transsexual, then why shouldn't they get the job?
Well, okay, I guess that seems legit. On occasion, I think you just gotta act.
Once again, a statement that just completely backtracks everything you've been pandering with. at a certain point, I think you should just act. At a certain point, how about just always? How about just always? Instead of these arbitrary, oh, if you want to portray a black person, then you have to be black. If you want to be a woman, portray a woman, then you have to be a woman. If you want to be this or that, then you have to be this or that. How about you just let the best actors portray what they want to portray based on their performances? You know? How about not this at a certain point? How about just always?
Again, it's not always easy to figure out what's going to be crossing an ethical line.
You're making a movie, if everyone's agreeing to what they're doing in that process and no one's actually getting physically hurt because of it, then there's nothing unethical about any of it. They're making a movie to make money. What don't you understand about this? In this regard, ethics doesn't even enter into the equation. If they start abusing animals in the making of their films, then that's unethical. That's why they have those "no animals were harmed" during the making of these films disclaimers, because they want people to be sure that even though it looks like an animal may have got hurt because you see a horse fall down, the horse actually wasn't hurt, like it's fine, and they did it in a manner where it was either CG or, you know, it fell on a mattress or something, whatever the case is, right? So in this way that you're trying to say, oh, was it ethical? No, it's not. Ethics don't even enter into the equation.
There's no rule book for this kind of stuff, and the world is constantly changing. And it's not always easy to know what's acceptable or not acceptable, and by how many.
Yeah, there is no rule book because you can't tell a person whether or not they can do something as long as they're not violating your rights. If I want to put on a person's traditional clothing from their culture and dance around however I want to, even if it's disrespecting their culture, I can do it. It's not unacceptable. It is acceptable. And if you can't accept that, then you're a person who doesn't need to be in a society engaging with people, because that fosters all these bad behaviors and ideologies where people think that they can engage in physical violence against people because they see them disrespecting their culture, or because they used a word, or because they have their hair a certain way. That's what's dangerous. So if anything, you're the one that's supporting nonsense in society, making people think that there are certain things that they can't do, and that there are certain things that it's okay to get mad at a person about, when you absolutely have no right to be getting mad about what you're trying to get mad at, like a person putting their hair however they want to.
A small minority, the mass majority, or does that even matter? The best way I can think to deal with it is treat it similar to when we cast adults as children. Would we prefer children? Yes.
See, there you go, using we again, making statements for other people where you have absolutely no ability to do so. Why do any of us want children to voice act children characters? We all know that they can't do a good job of it, and that, yeah, their voice is going to change, so that's why we just use adults, because they do a better job. So I don't know what you're talking about, or who else even supports what you're saying. Stop using we, dude, because I don't think anyone else is with you on this.
But we also understand child labor laws, the fact that they grow up and their voices change, so we're not as hard on people if an adult steps in to voice them. But really, we could be if we wanted to. There's lots of child actors out there looking for work, so is this like a prejudice against children? By now you're probably figuring out that whitewashing, height-washing, gender-washing, whatever your load of clothes is, it's all kind of selective. I love a lot of these performances and actors, even if they're not technically what the character's supposed to be. It seems very unlikely that the makers of Ghost in the Shell or Doctor Strange were trying to push any pro-white agenda.
It seems more likely that you're pushing an anti-white agenda.
People making these kind of movies hate bad press, and they don't want that kind of bad press attached. They probably just thought of all the other times people were okay with it, especially just in the last couple of years, and decided, they'll probably be okay with it this time too. That doesn't make the issue go away, but if you want people to be fair and open to what the problem is, you also have to be fair and open to what caused it. So, what exactly am I saying? We should be okay with roles played by white people even though they're not meant for white people?
There you go, backtracking again and being bigoted again. Roles not meant for white people? I thought we already went over this, dude. Anyone can play whatever they want to if they're the best actor to be playing that part, regardless of whether or not they actually are what they are acting as. So, how can you not just drop this? This is anti-white racism, and you don't even realize it, and that's how indoctrinated you've become.
We know we should do better, and we're trying to do better, But we can't act like our acceptance of it in the past hasn't somehow played a part to all of this still happening.
Apu isn't racist, dude. You know who runs the BP in my friend's town? His name is Syed. You know who runs the one of the shops in my town? His name is Farid. And they're both Indian. So if you think that the stereotype of the Indian, 7-Eleven worker is racist, then it's like you don't even live in America in reality, because a lot of store, gas station, convenience store owners actually are Indian, and Dunkin' Donuts too. That's not racist, that's just how it is. So, once people secure businesses and they have family members, they bring in their family members to also help run those businesses. So this isn't, racism, this is how the world works. You're an idiot.
It's not likely either of these movies want bad press, so letting them know our concerns will certainly help change in the future. The sad fact is, relations with anybody different is always going to be a complicated issue, even if we don't want it to be. And with so many in America celebrating the growth of limitation and disinterest in variety, it looks like it's going to stay complicated for a while.
Oh, hey, look, another cheap shot against Trump supporters. Way to sneak that one in there, dude. Of course, your prejudiced audience will just love all that. Of course, you're going to take out of context the picture of the woman using the Nazi salute, who was clearly saying, "I'm not a Nazi." But no, let's just use propaganda techniques.
In a country that's still 63% white people, chances are there's still gonna be whitewashing in the near future.
No, actually, total white population is 70%. You're just only going off of non-Hispanic white, so you're explicitly not including white Hispanics because you're bigoted and you wanted to make it seem like there's less whites in this country than there actually are. You're flippin' racist. So if you would accurately report the statistics, you would be saying that America is still 70% white, because that's what it actually says in the total for white American on the Wikipedia page according to the most recent census data. So, hey, look, a bigoted racist is using he's hiding the truth. My goodness, dude, you're an actual propagandist. Your whole video using the sad music, we should feel bad. Oh, white people guilt, because you're an anti-white racist and you don't even know it.
Bring up the mistakes that you see, but always remember you probably made them at some point too. And if we want human beings to change, you have to acknowledge that you yourself are a human being. Well, that was uncomfortable.
Maybe that was uncomfortable for you because you're a racist, but to me that was just annoying and upsetting because of how ignorant and wrong it is.
Boogers. Still got it. I'm a nostalgia critic guy, remember? So you don't have it.
And the details are chilling. We'll also focus on surveillance cameras that caught the bombing on tape, and maybe the men behind the bombing. The news channel has new information tonight that there's a chance surveillance tapes could be the smoking gun evidence. Now, we asked candid questions in a rare face-to-face meeting with ATF officials close to the investigation. We learned that video collected from downtown businesses the morning of April 19th may someday be played before a jury. Officials won't say who or what exactly is on the tape. However, numerous sources have confirmed the tapes exist and that they reveal more than one bomber.
Our source saw only a few minutes of tape. He didn't see all of the almost 20 minutes of surveillance tapes that reportedly were distributed to FBI agents around the country to help in their investigation. But they do show enough to raise some crucial questions. Who actually set off the bomb? What was John Doe number 2 doing in the cab of the truck after the McVeigh lookalike got out? And how did John Doe number 2 get away from the Murrah building?
My understanding is there was a video of McVeigh getting out of the Ryder truck, jumping into this other pickup with John Doe number 2. Well, where's that video? Are we ever going to get to see it?
Do you realize what you've just seen, America? The government had multiple surveillance camera tapes. In fact, when it finally came out in court, when the federal government declared in 2001 that they wouldn't release the videotapes because of national security implications, that there were actually 12 surveillance camera tapes that had had these different Islamic individuals, these Arabic men with McVeigh and others. as well as the BATF hiding out right down the street, preparing to pounce on the operation and declare themselves the heroes, the saviors, the victims. Think about it. Now in 2001 and right into 2002, the federal government claims national security and refuses to release 12-plus surveillance camera tapes. What are they hiding? And the feds never tried to use it in court. I mean, if they had McVeigh pulling up alone and bombing the building and it was just a truck bomb, why not use the actual surveillance camera tapes to do it? But they didn't do that. You have to ask yourselves why. What's on that tape? Well, after you've seen all this evidence, it's clear. Federal involvement. Ratcheting up the police state right here in America.
Apparently we're not the ones harboring a fugitive. Yeah, this is our garage right now. What the hell?
Oh, crap, man. Wow. They're men with machine guns coming towards us.